Welcome to Week 1 Video Notes. These video notes will help you get comfortable with using your textbook modules as a self-guided, self-paced instructional lab manual. Almost every week we will be working through a new chapter module. These notes are not going to cover all the details, as they are in your textbook. Instead, they provide an introduction and overview for the module, alert you to any textbook typos, and hopefully provide more insight for complicated topics. Since this is week 1, I am going to provide you with some suggestions for working productively. 1. Set a comfortable time frame. 50 minutes is long enough at a computer terminal without a break. Taking a 10-minute stretch or walk outside will help you work more productively. 2. Read the case introduction scenario. You will pretend to work for a company or boss that have specific requirements. The module narratives explain why and what you are going to practice. Pay particular attention to the insights, tips, and pro skills boxes provided, as these identify best standard workbook practices that we should always strive to follow. 3. Review the visual overview provided before starting each session unit. These will help you become familiar with the spreadsheet lingo. Being able to communicate effectively is paramount, so learning and using the correct terminology is important. The visual overview also provides a nice summary of the session's features that you will be actively engaged in. 4. Find and skim the quick check questions on the last page of each session. You will need to add your answers to these on a separate worksheet inside the workbook. Since they are almost always in the order that you will encounter the topic, you can note the page number where you find the answer for quick reference, and then complete the quick check questions once you have finished working through the module session unit. Before we explore some of the highlights of the module, let's address some textbook typos that you should correct before starting. On page 2-24, in figure 2-23, instruction 6 that starts with repeat ranges A35 through N42. So make that correction. It should start at A35. The second typo on page 2-48 for number 2, quick analysis, be sure to use the right mouse menu to find the quick analysis. That instruction was left out of the textbook. Here are the Module 2 highlights. Using standard practices is important. Use the themes and colors provided. Be consistent, and know that documentation is important. So here are a few important takeaways for Module 2. Note that most importantly, you are becoming aware of the powerful features of Excel. Of course, you will not remember all the details. That is okay. What is critical for you to learn is what you can do with Excel. Once you are in the know regarding what is possible, you will be able to find the features and use them when applicable. No doubt about it, you can get pretty fancy with formatting in Excel, and it is a lot of fun to play around a bit. However, it is important to adhere to professional styles and standard practices. Be sure to read the pro skills on page 218, as well as the information regarding standard practices for adding borders to cells on pages 221 through 223, and then adopt them. 95% of the time, unless otherwise directed by your company, you should use the standard themes and colors provided by Excel. These have been carefully chosen by human factors experts. Once you settle on a theme, use it consistently. And always remember that clear documentation, what, who, why, how, and where should be easily discernible regarding your workbook. Every workbook should contain documentation worksheet as the first worksheet and include all these important details so that anyone who is using or updating the workbook knows all of the details and information. Before we dive into some of the chapter topics on formatting, a final takeaway. Always, always, always remember, it's the validity of the data that is crucial. A pretty workbook with incorrect data is still incorrect. Like the expression says, you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. Here are the topics covered in Section 2.1. Many of these should be reviewed from the prerequisite course you took. Skim topics you are sure of, but don't skip anything because you need to include all the instructions in the module. Take your time, look through the various worksheets and their content data. Keep in mind that the workbooks are much larger than in your previous coursework. You are getting a feel for more realistic case studies and the power of Excel. Here are the topics for Section 2.2. The Format Painter can help you quickly and easily maintain consistent styling for all the components in a workbook. Conditional formatting is a terrific feature for conveying important items to note. It provides an extra visual cue to the user of the workbook without taking up extra space in the worksheet. Review the visual overviews carefully before diving into the case study narrative and practice instructions. This will help you learn the correct terminology as well as put the features you are practicing in context. Take your time and pay careful attention to the details provided as you work through the instructions in the module. It's not a race, so don't rush. These are useful features that you should master. 2 notes. There are many ways to accomplish the same task in Excel, especially when you're doing copy and paste. The text will show you several. My favorite go-to tool is the right mouse contextual menu. This provides the correct option I need 90% of the time for what I want to do. A second note, don't fret if you don't remember how you completed a feature. You don't need to memorize all the details. The important takeaway for now is that you know what you can do. Even if you forget the details, you will eventually find it and figure it out by inspecting the right mouse menu and/or the ribbons, and if all else fails, use the help. Here are a few examples of how functions and formulas can be useful. You can expect to encounter these frequently in most workbooks. Excel supports 2 monetary formats, so let's look at these a little more carefully. You should choose the best fit for your workbook audience: accounting versus currency. The accounting format shows negative values displayed in parentheses, aligns the currency symbol in the leftmost column of the cell. Instead of displaying 0 money, it shows a dash, and the values are slightly indented from the right cell edge. Currency format shows negative values using a minus sign. The currency symbol is placed right to the left of the first digit, and 0 values are shown as $0.00. In large worksheets, when looking at columns of numbers, the accounting style is often preferred because the columns align neatly and the visual $ does not get in the way. Another nice formatting feature is merging cells, and you can do these horizontally, vertically, or even on an angle. When you merge cells, it will retain the content and cell reference in the upper left cell of the range. You can merge in center, merge across, and also unmerge cells. You can also rotate cell contents. This is a nice feature that can help visually improve the readability of your worksheet, as well as allow you to narrow the column to provide a little more space for other columns in the worksheet. Section 2.2 Overview. Review this on page 2-30-31 of your text. The sooner you become comfortable with the spreadsheet terminology, the easier it will be to absorb the details about the case studies and Excel features you are practicing. Copying and pasting formats. In large workbooks, there can be many worksheets and charts. Copying formats with the Format Painter can be very useful in terms of saving you time and making you more productive when you're handling these many worksheets with a variety of charts. This feature will be useful in future modules and Project 1. Highlighting cells with conditional formats. A conditional format applies formatting to a cell when its value meets a specific criterion. This provides a useful visual cue to significant data values. Frequently, it is important to note critical values that may need to be responded to. For example, perhaps an amount in stock is reduced to where we need to order more items. That would be a critical value that is worthy of conditional formatting. Note that conditional formatting is dynamic. When the value changes, the conditional format can also be changed. Here are some of the options for conditional formatting. You can compare for greater than, less than, between two specific values, or equal to a particular value. You can look for text that contains certain letters, or a particular date, or duplicate values. Each conditional format has a set of rules that define how the formatting should be applied and under what conditions the format will change. The Quick Analysis tool provides access to the most common tools for data analysis and formatting. You can remove a conditional format at any time without affecting the underlying data. Always include a legend. This is a key that identifies each color and its meaning in the worksheet. And note that when and if the cell's value changes, it is dynamic. The conditional formatting will automatically update in accordance with it. Finally, review some of the finer features of printing the contents of a workbook. Print settings can be applied to an entire workbook or to individual sheets. Page Break Preview shows only those parts of the active sheet that will print and how the content will be split across the pages, as we see here. By default, all cells in a worksheet containing text, formulas, or values are going to be printed. If you want to see the hard copy of the workbook, you can print it out to review. However, note that you do not need to print anything out for me to review. This ends Week 1, Module 2 highlights. If you have any problems or concerns, please post to our Week 1 open discussion forum. Have a great day!